special guest to grace this event. He is Mr. Praveen Kumar S, who is currently the Deputy CEO and Head of Education at Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, Karnataka, which is a development organization running 8 institutions and over 40 projects covering all the districts of the state of Karnataka. Through the education projects, SVI has reached out to over 50,000 students annually. He passed out from IITM in 2009 with a degree in mechanical engineering. During his student days, he was also an active member of IViL. He was a member of the core team that set up the Integrated Knowledge Center in Natham Village, Tamil Nadu. His business plans on the IKC, Natham, and use of biodiesel in village households have been finalists and winners in multiple social entrepreneurship competitions across the world, including Genesis, IIT, MIT, Oxford. He also started the Ignited Mind discussion for school students. I would like to inform you that we conducted our Ignited Minds conference online in the last semester. He has also worked as a science and mathematics facilitator for the last 16 years to a diverse group of students from 6th standard to research scholars who are currently studying in various institutions such as IISc, IITs, ISER, NITs. He also has an experience of working as a research associate at the Robotics Lab and Research Academy in Chennai, along with several other teaching assignments. He has been engaged in promoting the quality of education in rural areas of Karnataka and has also designed to set up the first science exploratory park of the state of Karnataka at a block level. He works closely with the Department of Education and also the Department of Science and Technology under the Government of Karnataka. He was also part of the 3-member drafting committee of the Nava Karnataka Vision 2025 education document of the Government of Karnataka. He was also the organizing secretary for the National Conference on ICT in Education and a coordinator of the National Academic Committee of Vidyarthi Vigyan Mandhan, an initiative of NCRT Vigyan Prasar and Vijnana Bharati. So on behalf of everyone, and also on behalf of IViL, I proudly extend my wholehearted welcome to you, sir. Welcome to the event.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure if our FACAD is present, but still, I would also like to welcome our FACAD, who is our constant source of support and critique, Dr. Panniyappan Ramu, to the event. Now, I welcome, I don't think a formal invitation is required, but still, I welcome the pillars of IViL, my dear co-volunteers who have always exhibited great enthusiasm and cooperation in leading this event. Last but not least, I welcome all the freshers who are wonderfully coping with these trying times and who are filled with energy and enthusiasm always. Now, I don't want to prolong further. All of us are eager to hear from the guest of the day, Mr. Praveen, on his personal and professional journey of life dedicated to especially improving the quality of education across our country. So we are eagerly waiting, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. I would be very happy if you address me as Praveen instead of sir. At the outset, I would like to thank the IViL team for thinking of me as someone who is worthy of interacting with the freshies as a part of their orientation. And over the last 2 days, I have been trying to recollect what my journey in IViL has been. And I was associated with IViL right from its very initial days. I joined in August 2005. IViL was started sometime in Jan or Feb of 2005. So IViL was just a few months old when I joined it. And my journey in IViL and my journey in IIT have been kind of intertwined. And along the way, I've had great friends. Dr. Satish, if you go through the archives of IViL, you will see a lot of male fights between me and Satish. Sabapati, who I think continues to mentor many of you even now. Then there was Sneha, Bhavani, Swati, Srinath, Ayush, among several others. In fact, there was a time when we were extremely active, 2007, 2008. and I continue to relish my discussions with Professor JBL of the Humanities Department, under whose guidance the IViL was actually started. And I also relish my fights with Satish. Along the way, I have had very diverse experiences. I've also committed several mistakes, and most of the times they have actually ended with a harsh realization that there is so much more to learn. So today my effort would be to kind of put together my thoughts and the lessons I have learned into 5 tidbits for all of you here, and I am open to be challenged on in any of these. So the first one is that we should never give up. We should keep trying constantly. And I can think of 2 particular anecdotes which I could recollect. As a high school student, I always wanted to pursue a career in nuclear physics. And when I joined IIT Madras, much to my surprise, and then I should say I was also saddened when I came to realize that there was no professor in the Department of Physics who specialized in nuclear physics. So I started reaching out to people for advice. I wanted to know the courses to pursue, which books to refer to, and so on. And I was very audacious. I used to think, what do I lose by writing an email? So I started writing emails to people, and in the process, 3 people responded to my emails. The first one was Professor Balakrishnan, V. Balakrishnan, and many of you who are in the Department of Physics in IIT Madras will recollect his great contributions to the department and the country as a whole. Professor Balki, under whom I had an opportunity to do two courses later during my student days. The second one was Professor Walter Greiner from GSI Darmstadt in Germany. And for people who don't know, Greiner's physics books are considered the reference books at a university level. So he responded. And the third one was Dr. Chelapandi from the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research from Kalpakkam. And he would then later connect me to Dr. Mohapatra, who would then connect me to Professor Shanmugam, under whom I did get an opportunity to do some work later. But during the entire period of toil, if I may say, I'd written 83 emails to different people asking for their guidance, but only 3 supported. And it would have been very easy to give up after every email, and we don't get response after every email. But I kept trying. I kept trying until I could get these responses, and finally this actually ended in me publishing a paper in the National Symposium on Nuclear Physics amidst the who's who of nuclear physics in India. The second very interesting anecdote that I could recollect was when we were setting up the IKC in Nattam. We needed a business plan. We wanted to know how much money would be needed to keep the center up and running, and how long can we run it. And there were all these jargons that were being thrown at us on when do you break even, and that's when I learned these words, what is the return on investment, and all these things. So we wanted to ask this, we started asking this question ourselves, like how much money is required to keep the center running, and we couldn't find answers. We can have an Excel sheet where you could just alter one number and you could make it look very sustainable, or you could alter another number and make it look a disastrous proposal. So we didn't have the expertise ourselves. Neither could we have have hired professional consultants, because they were very costly. So during those days, I used to spend long nights with Satish in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Satish was pursuing his PhD in the Precision Engineering Lab. So we would, post dinner, we would be seated there, and we would keep on discussing about something or the other. So in one of those discussions, we realized that these social entrepreneurship competitions at that time were the places where a lot of these experts would come as jury members. So we would have immediate access to these, and if these jury members are commenting on our proposals, they are all free of cost. So though we couldn't hire consultants, we could have access to these consultants. So when I proposed this in our weekly IViL meetings, most people thought that it was a bad idea. I mean, they had challenged it like, why would venture capitalists be interested in social initiatives like the IKC? Me being who I am, and Satish being as adamant as I am, we ended up writing a business plan, and then we submitted it to Genesis. Genesis was a very, very popular social entrepreneurship competition of IIT Madras at that point. It was considered one of the best in India at that point. And we didn't even make it past the first round. And for some time, every time we entered the cafeteria, what was then called as Tiffany's, people would full of fast one, they would crack jokes on us, and all that happened. But by the next year, what happened was IKC was inaugurated. We had some more realities on the ground. I mean, we had some more experience of how IKC is functioning and all that. And we went back to the same proposal, rewrote it a bit, and included all this knowledge that we gained from running the IKC. And we cleared 3 rounds. We actually made it to the finals of Genesis. And in that, as a finalist, we had this opportunity to present it to the jury. And that point, usually any team in the social entrepreneurship competition was a team of 3 or 4. We were a team of 20 students who would go and present, and we got great insights from the jury, which actually critically analyzed our proposal. Though this was not a profitable business venture, there was greater societal good which made up for what we didn't make in monetary returns. So I learned that all you need to do is never give up. Keep trying. You keep working towards that, and you will eventually see the results. The second tidbit I just wanted to share was, when you're doing things right, things will eventually fall in place. So it's important to focus on the present, and the results will follow. So when we wanted to set up the Integrated Knowledge Center, that's the IKC. So IKC was set up in Natham, so in a village north of Chennai. It's about 50 kilometers north of Chennai, where we wanted this knowledge center to be an interface between the rural youth, the rural farmers, and a technological institute like IIT, where we could try solving some of the problems that those villages face. So when we started it in Natham, we also wanted to set up a library there. And this library was aimed at basically attracting all age groups, right from women to children to farmers to the very elderly. And because we had to cater to the local audience, most of the books had to be in Tamil. So while we had these great ideas of setting up a library, neither did we have the books nor did we have the money to buy them. So one day, a couple of us took off. We went to Higginbotham's on Anasalai. That is you would have seen that huge Higginbotham's building on the left side as you are going along the Anasalai. We went there. We went to the Tamil section. We started listing out the addresses of all the publishers of Tamil books. And with all these addresses, and we started writing back to these publishers, about some 40 of them, and we started explaining what the IKC was, and we asked them to donate books. So several days later, one of the publishers in T Nagar called us, and he was very happy and willing to donate some damaged books. Anyway, I mean, he wouldn't be able to sell them anyway, so he wanted to donate them to the library we wanted to set up. And I couldn't read Tamil, so I caught hold of another volunteer of IViL. We went to the publisher's store in T Nagar, and we started kind of listing down books. So initially, the publisher mentioned that he was happy to give away books worth 2,000 rupees, and 2,000 was a big amount at that time, right? And but seeing our seriousness with which we were selecting books, and we had to make this choice between, within those 2,000 rupees, what are the books that we can select, and what are those books that we are forced to drop. So he immediately said, okay, you can take books worth 5,000 rupees. And he also went ahead and promised to send us a complimentary copy of every book that he would publish in future. So slowly, with all these contributions, we actually put together a good library at Natham. So all we needed to do was just believe in this idea of putting up a library and constantly work towards it. And eventually the library will be set up. So another similar experience has been my own journey in SVYM. So when I came here, I joined as a science teacher. I was teaching grade 6, 7, 8. I was teaching them some physics and a bit of math. And I used to have a lot of time in the evenings once the school got over. And I started engaging in other activities of SUIM. I took up to teaching science in government schools. And I started understanding science education, the education system and policy better. And I also happened to meet, very committed and talented people, and actually got a chance to learn much more from these people. So this constant exploration took me places. I was on expert panels of the government. I was training teachers. I was on the academic committee of the Vidyarthi Vigyan Manthan. I helped setting up a science center of Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. I got to meet many of my childhood heroes. I did meet Dr. U.R. Rao, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, Dr. Kiran Kumar of ISRO, Dr. APJ. I also had an opportunity to meet Javagal Srinath, the royal family of Mysore, among several others. So my work was also recognized in the sense that we had produced a radio serial which was rated the best in India. Our work with teachers was listed among the 20 most innovative uses of technology in education, among several others. So never have I struggled to implement an idea. For some reason, whenever we had a good idea, the resources would find their way to us some way or the other. Same was the case when I launched Ignited Minds as well, which continues to this day. So whenever we are doing things right, things will start falling in place, and it's best to focus on the our actions at the moment and not really worry about the results. The third kind of tidbit, if I may say, was all of you, and including myself. I mean, we have got great school education. And in my case, with the education I have had, I realized that I would never die of hunger. So let me do something worthwhile in my life. So during my student days, I had been a a book collector. I would order all sorts of books through the Tata Book House in IIT, and then sometimes even through Rediff Books. And they interestingly, they would offer this cash on delivery option for a student at that time. And these books would be imported from across the world and were fairly costly. So many a time I wouldn't have the money to buy these books, and I would actually feel very embarrassed to ask my father for money to buy books. So I started working part time. I started working as a teacher, as a helper, as a research associate, among several other roles. And every rupee I would earn through that, I would end up spending all the money on buying more books. And sometimes during my second and third years of engineering, I was also working on a research project with Professor Shanmugam, about whom I had mentioned earlier. So he was a nuclear physicist who was actually staying in Guduvancheri. Guduvancheri is, for people in Chennai, you might know the Vandalur Zoo. Guduvancheri is further away from Chennai, so about 40 kilometers away from Chennai. So every weekend on Saturday and Sunday, I would travel to Guduvancheri. But that meant that I wouldn't have access to hostel food. So I had to miss breakfast because I would leave very early. And I would reach very late in the night, so I wouldn't have access to dinner as well. And I would have limited money. Many a times I would travel by the cheapest bus. So there would be a bus which which I had to get in at Gindi. At 6 rupee 50 paise, it would take me to Guduvancheri, and another 6 rupee 50 paise, I would come back. I wouldn't have money to buy breakfast or lunch on the way. So there would be days when, I would just keep drinking water whenever I felt hungry. But in this process, after I successfully submitted my presented my paper at the National Symposium on Nuclear Physics, I kind of realized that thanks to my parents, that I had great school education. And I also had the opportunity to study in one of the best colleges in the country. And I had the capabilities to, always earn enough for my stomach. So let me do something worthwhile in my life. Can I do something for the people around me? Was a question which always kept on kind of plaguing me. So much of my decision making after that actually changed towards this. So I didn't sit for placements. I chose a slightly different career path versus what would be a normal routine. And this is where I come to my fourth tidbit. People very often ask me why I sacrificed a possible good career in nuclear physics, or maybe a corporate job, or a handsome salary, or like most of my peers now, why am I not in a foreign country? So I always correct them. I keep telling them that I didn't make sacrifices, I made choices. See, a sacrifice is something where you give up what you are really passionate about in favor of something that you don't really like. So in my case, that wasn't the case, right? And in 2009, when after my engineering, when I had to choose, I had two options to choose from. One was pure sciences. I wanted to pursue an integrated PhD in TIFR, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. So they had two streams there also. One was physics, and the other one was biological sciences. Interestingly, I was shortlisted for interview for both of them after the entrance exam. And the other choice I had was to pursue a career in science teaching, which meant I had to shift to a rural or a tribal area like where SVIM was. And I had already been teaching, doing that part-time teaching for quite some time, so I was really enjoying that. And I happened to visit SVIM during that time, and Dr. Balu, the founder of SVIM, posed this challenge, saying that like, would you want to come and set up a science park here in Sargur? So I felt I could always come back, take a break, study for an entrance exam, and get into TIFR sometime later in my career. But I might not have the motivation to go and work in a tribal area and teach science. So I thought I'll go to SVIM first, spend 2 years, and then see how it goes. It's close to 11 years now that I have been in SVIM. So I chose, I didn't sacrifice anything. I chose something, and I have never had a chance to kind of look back, or never had a chance to repent whatever choices I've made. And if I were to make those choices again, I would repeat them all over again. So it's always about making choices, so you don't really have to sacrifice anything in life. And the last tidbit, if I may say, was while in this process of in this journey so far, from 2005 till today, about 15 years, I'm not sure if I have actually helped change people's lives, but I've understood myself better. I've possibly become a better human being. So throughout, you get to meet so many extremely talented people. Just because of their circumstances, they don't achieve what they are truly capable of. And that is when I started realizing that I am among those really privileged batch of people who had the opportunity to go to college like the IIT, or to work in a place like SVIM. So there have been several very humbling experiences, and they helped me realize that in the process of trying to help others, or in the process of actually even working with others, I'm trying to become a better person than what I was yesterday. So if I were to kind of summarize all the tidbits I had for so far, the first one is keep trying, never give up. Second one, when you're doing things right, things will start falling in place. So focus on the present, the results will definitely follow. The third one, with the education that we have access to, we will never die of hunger. So let's do something worthwhile in our lives. Fourth one, I didn't make sacrifices, I made choices. So make those choices count, give it our best, and give it the best shot, and we will see the results follow. And the fifth one is, while I'm not sure if I could change people's lives, I do understand myself better in this journey. And I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I got, mostly at the cost of the others. So for every student who walks into IIT, there are several students who didn't get a chance to walk into IITs. So I'd like to kind of end my lecture or address with a quote from Vivekananda's letter to the Maharaja of Mysore. He says, this life is short, the vanities of the world are transient, but they alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. Thank you. I would be happy to take any questions from the audience.
Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, or you may type it in the chat box.
Praveen, hi, this is Sashank here. So actually, I'm not a freshie. Actually, I'm a graduate now. So I just joined this call because I know you well. So the thing is what, like, the one thing that I want to ask you, like here, so what are the challenges that you have to go through, like, when you spend your time in IViL, and that can be avoided for the new set of volunteers? Because most of the times I have noticed the challenge our seniors have gone through. We also go through the same challenges. Then actually, by the time we realize we can make some change, in society we are now going to graduate from the institute. So how do you? Yeah.
Uh, I don't have a correct, if I may say, a correct answer for your question. Uh, because I used to be among those few very frustrated students who no after my graduation, where I would see the emails in the IViL group and would kind of think that why are these kids repeating the same mistakes that we did. And much later I realized that there is very little time for students to actually do much in those 4 years. But in the process of trying to do stuff, they realize that I think they learn much more about the society around us. One thing which can definitely help is if we could have some sort of archiving in IViL about the experiences that we have had so far, right from day one. The second thing I would suggest is the ideas like the cycle donation program and ignited minds that have been there for a while can evolve and can become simple volunteering activities or one-time activities. But what IViLians can actually really bring to the table is their intellectual capabilities. So if we can have these study groups or where you actually go interact with people outside and see the world, explore the world for yourself, and not reach out with thinking that I'll solve all the problems, but more to understand what is happening outside. I think we'll be wiser people at the end of this exercise.
Okay, I understand. So in a nutshell, you are trying to say like it is a more of like your to understand the like real world rather than like making a change. So you when you get out of institute, you get better prepared with your experiences, like and then understand what is to be done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fine.
That's primarily because of our present mode of work. And we one more option we could look at is a formal a handover process from one generation to the other, where the next generation basically starts off where the earlier generation left. I see that in IViL we kind of resume activities at square one, so that could be avoided as well.
But last point, like so, actually, already anyway, you are working with a lot of science things. So I would suggest like if you have like a big project that can be divided into small things, and in one part of that complete project, if I will volunteers can pitch in. I think we feel free to like share with us, like so that we like if suppose somebody is interested, they can also work out on that.
Definitely, yeah. We could definitely look at that. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Other I continue.
Okay, so I was actually also asked, I would like to know your opinion on one particular thing. I think IViL is, I think maybe comparing to other student bodies, I think it has always attached a sense of idealism to it. So how far do you think is it actually helping us? Because I think in a lot of ways, it's actually restricting us also to actually open up with, especially when it comes to, as you said, entrepreneurship kind of thing. We always have this, oh, this is corporate, not our area. So this, I in one way, it's also kind of limiting our activities also. So do you think is that a reason why we are not able to actually kind of make such that kind of a progress in our activities?
I think idealism is good when you have the energy. So and because it I think idealism causes that intellectual rigor in in what we think, and we are forced to read beyond the things which are easily available to us. So it is good. And eventually I think we should stay true to our values, and uh, when we define idealism, I think we have to also look at what is it that we should stay true to. Like for example, just because I enjoy writing letters, would you still keep writing inland letters or postcards in the 21st century is something which we have to reflect upon. We should not get stuck in the processes, but more, I think we should look at uh, how we, I think, what is it that we really intend to do? Is it passing on the message to the other person, in which case an email is equally acceptable? Or is it writing a letter with a beautiful handwriting? So somewhere I think we have to go back, brainstorm, identify what we really stand for, and that will define how we have to function as well.
Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, please ask. Feel free to raise your questions.
Hey, hi, Praveen. I have one small question. You said you did a lot of struggling to get your feet into pure sciences, and if you follow your page, your social media pages, you do follow a lot of science related events. But like your work is no longer get you in close relation with science. Like you're no longer, I mean, in contact with science. Like you don't perform science. But do you miss it, or do you still continue performing science? Or
Yeah, I do miss the rigor of it. Uh, Sometimes being in an administrative role takes away the leisure time that we might have. But I have continued to be in the space of science education. And one of the challenges that I kind of take upon myself is to demystify science for the students I work with, for the teachers I work with. So, yeah, if you ask me, do I miss lectures on quantum mechanics? Maybe yes. But there is so much beauty in the world that can be explained using simple Newtonian mechanics as well. So that is something which I am dabbling with at this point. So I haven't lost touch with the rigorous science as well. I do spend some time, like you might have seen, I do interact with people in the scientific space. I do visit ISRO once in a while. I do visit DAE or BARC, but I'm not a rigorous science person anymore, like you mentioned.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Gokul has this question that what do you want us to do in IViL to contribute? Yeah, IViL is already working on a few interesting projects, one on agriculture and one on education, if I'm right. I'm not aware of the latest activities that you're into. But there are two things which I would suggest. One is what all of you IITians can really contribute is the intellectual abilities. So continuously keep on exploring how these intellectual abilities can be put to use to solve problems outside our campuses. And the villages of 2005 are no longer the villages of 2020. Right, so if you go back to Natham, you might really wonder if this is still a village today. So, and the challenges of the world also keep changing. So there are several challenges that we could identify. We have a water issue coming up. We have a climate change issue coming up. We have agriculture coming up. We have challenges with education, access to education for children with disabilities. We have challenges with the quality of school education at scale, especially in the government schools. So all these are challenges that we can look at. We should not aim at changing 1,000 schools, or aim at reaching 1 lakh students at a time and so on. But you would always pilot with 1 or 2 projects. And keep trying. I mean, you will never know how your effort pays off, and that's what I also mentioned. Like, the results will follow. For the older students who know the Ignited Minds event, when we started the Ignited Minds event the first school that we conducted this was in a school in Hyderabad where I studied. And one of my favorite teachers was in charge of conducting that event. And there was a student in 9th grade at that point by name Mandara, who did extremely well, who continued to be in touch with that teacher as well as with me to see how she could contribute. And then she went on to study MBBS in Bangalore Medical College. And even during that time, she was in touch, and she continued to volunteer at her own college level. So whenever she had time, she would get her friends together, and they would run a help desk for patients and their caretakers who are coming from rural areas, who wouldn't know how to find their way around in the Bangalore Medical College. And this girl is now pursuing her MS in UK, in one of the universities in UK. But what is interesting is this young girl who was part of that event as a 9th grade student continues to see that one event kind of changed her life. So we never know how students are influenced by us, how positively our work would impact them. Or even the stall which keeps running in Sarang and Shastra, they are one event now, but during our days they were 2 separate events. So I think in 2006 or 2007 we had a total rejig of how that stall has to be run. And from there it kind of really took off. It was among the most profitable stalls that these women from the rural areas that they would run. So it's important that you look at small problems, don't look at mega problems. Look at a controlled space, get an exposure. Never approach a problem with an attitude that you can solve the problem. And eventually you might actually be able to make a difference. And if not make a difference, at least you will be more wise. I mean, you would have gained some experience on what will work, what doesn't work. Karthikeyan has a message saying that there are kind of 2 approaches to serving the society. I do agree with you, Karthikeyan, that it is our personal choice. In fact, one of my very close friends always used to should I say, advise me, saying that why do you waste your time in IViL? He would tell me that I think you should spend your time studying better, getting better grades, and then taking off a corporate job, earn a lot of money, and then donate it for a noble cause. My only response would be that, yeah, you could do all that and donate that money to me, and then I would ensure that your money is spent well, that it really makes an impact on the ground. So no one approach is better than the other. As long as we stay grounded, stay true to the cause, I think both are important. Someone has to generate income, someone has to spend it wisely. So both are important.
Any other questions? We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes. If they have any questions, let them raise it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I would like to invite all of you to visit us. I'm sure there is about 36, 37 years of experience of great people working here in SUIM. I benefited a lot from that work on the field. And even if you're looking at some formal internships, you can always reach out to me as well.
Okay, I think we are also hoping to have some kind of collaboration with your team, if
Sure.
possible. Because we have been planning for some time that we have to take up some online education project, but we didn't get NGO or teams, who could actually find a reserve section. We can provide volunteers as always, but we need to find the students. That was always a task for us. So, so yes. So I hope we can make some kind of collaboration.
Yes, yeah. I think it is possible, and don't worry too much about how many numbers you will get. If I'll just like to add one more small anecdote. In Natham, there were 3 students who were going into engineering, and they wanted to learn computer C programming. So they had reached out to us saying that why don't you come on weekends and teach us. So I kind of designed a course that over 8 weekends we would teach them C programming. And interestingly, when I presented this proposal to the IViL group, they just said this won't work. And usually our meetings used to be on the 5th floor of the library, and I was so angry that I walked out of that meeting. And while walking out, I said, even if no one is coming, I'll go every weekend. I'll ensure that the course is complete. And for the first 3 weekends, I had to go myself. And from there on till the end of the course, that course ran for 9 weekends. Till the end of the course, there were always volunteers. So all that I had to do was to ensure that it starts well. And if people start liking that idea, they will join in. And the people who actually volunteered were not these regular volunteers. So people who wouldn't mind coming on a weekend for a couple of weekends. We had such volunteers to successfully complete that program. So don't really look at or get carried away with big numbers. So even one person is a good start.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think there are no questions left. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I did really enjoy the session, and you're always welcome to visit and work with us. You can also write to me if I can be of any help in the future.
Sure. It has been wonderful talking with you. I mean, it's special for us because even though we are also part of IViL, we don't know many of things that has happened in IViL or many alumni also. It has been great talking with you. To know more about IViL also. It was a learning process for us also.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Good evening, sir. I am studying in 10th standard and I'm very curious to achieve IIT like you. So, can you suggest me some tips to do that?
Okay. Can I suggest that you reach out to me outside this forum? I'll leave my contact details in the chat box. You can reach out to me outside.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ardra and team. With your permission, I'll log off now.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Dear freshers, please stay. We will have a short orientation session. I will not take much time. I'll just give an intro about our activities. Okay, please, the first years. Or if anyone else also would like to hear about our activities, please feel free to stay. Okay, so I think I'll start sharing the PPT. Can you see the screen? Sai, you just answer, okay?
Yes, Ardra, we can see your screen.
Okay. I can't see the chat box, okay, since I'm presenting. Okay, so let me know. I'll try to wind it up as soon as possible. Okay, so I think by now you have got an idea of what exactly IViL is. So IViL is a student body established in 2005 for rural empowerment. It serves as a discussion forum and an action platform for the students of IITM to implement their ideas. And the passion of the student volunteers drives IViL forward. It provides a very flexible platform where the volunteers have the freedom to pursue their ideas for rural India. I said flexible because there is no such formality as in like you have to clear some kind of criteria to be a volunteer. There is nothing of that sort. You can always be part of IViL just by attending our meetings or joining our group, what all. So we have a lot of opportunities for you to be part of IViL. So I think I'll directly jump to the project. So first we have cycle donation project. Is Ujjwal here? Okay, anyway, it's okay. I'll go. So cycle donation project, I think sir has also mentioned that. So it's basically about, okay, so since you guys haven't been in campus, so usually since it's a very big campus, most of us will have cycles. And by the time we graduate, we will not take our cycles. So these cycles will be collected from the final year students. It will be repaired with the help of an NGO and will be distributed to villages, especially to kids who have to walk long distance to go to school. Okay, so this is a cycle donation project. And now you can see the progress, how many cycles we have donated in each year. This is the 2016. Again, here comes, it's also 2016, Vepambatu village. Okay. So as of now, we have circulated a mail asking for, who all would like to donate their cycle, but we haven't been able to do transferring to the NGO. because as you know, no volunteer is there and the condition in campus is also not really favorable. So right now, as soon as we get back to campus or as soon as the situation gets normal, we hope that all those cycles will be able to get transferred. Now it comes to the content and video creation. So it's a very, very new project. So it was launched in August 2020 with an aim to create content or videos that can be useful and easily understandable for the rural population, possibly in their local language. So these are some of the topics that they are working on. Educational content, it's maths, it can be math, science, computer, anything. They also make topics on career guidance and also videos on introduction of new technological advancements that are generally unknown in rural areas. Other topics include environmental awareness and basic health guidelines. So currently they are working for an NGO in creating content on basics of computer to kids. So next is a smartphone or laptop collection drive. I don't know if you have seen that mail. I don't know if we sent that mail before you guys joined, but this is basically the aim is to bridge the digital gap between the rural and urban areas. So similarly, like how I mentioned about the collection drive that we do with the cycle, similarly, we did a collection drive among the faculty, among the alumni and the students of IIT Madras. So again, similarly, we send out a form and students also, I mean, all those who are willing to give their device, they were sent the address, they were given the address of the NGO, they have to courier it directly. And for some devices, thankfully, Pramod, our volunteer, one of our volunteers, he went back to campus. So he was also able to collect a few devices and NGO came and collected from him. So far we have received around 12 devices, which include smartphones, laptops, tabs, etc. So these will be again distributed to rural areas, I mean to kids in rural areas who cannot afford buying devices. Now, Ignited Minds Conference. I think you have been hearing this word for so many times. So as Sir has mentioned, he has initiated this. So basically, it's an awareness program. It's completely informal conference, thinking, discussion, and action platform for urban school children. So it's where like we choose a particular theme and will be given, our volunteers will give presentations. The kids will be also engaged in some kind of activities. So in 2019, the topic was redefining rural India. And in 2020, again, we conducted it online on 2nd and 3rd October 2020. Students across Chennai, Shivagachi and Bangalore participated. And the theme was COVID-19 through the lens of rural India. Volunteers, they gave presentations, and Dr. Yogesh Kolkande, he was a guest speaker, who talked about the health scenario in rural India amidst COVID. And the kids were engaged in several competitions. And surprisingly, we thought that they were very boring because after all the online classes, the kids will not be very much interested to hear our lecture. But to our surprise, kids were very, very, very active. Okay. Next comes the Sangal. Okay, Sankalp is basically a village visit that is conducted exclusively for educational purpose, again for the kids in villages. So the purpose is to create an interest in learning in the minds of children through innovative ways and also opening up wider possibilities after their school education. So the volunteers, they will demonstrate science experiments. They'll also give career guidance and also some competitions will be arranged. It can be informals also. Sometimes it can be events like, quizzes or elocution, such kind of things. So Sankalp 2020 was conducted online on 7th November. So around 30 kids were arranged by an NGO with the help of Sabha Sir. And our volunteers arranged a math session through storytelling, career guidance, and demonstrated science experiments and also conducted quiz. Yes, here it goes picture. Okay, so now I'll take you to some of the older projects and some of the important projects which we cannot run right now because due to the COVID situation. So food stall is an I think most of you will be aware about the Shastra and Sarang, the cultural and technical festival that we conduct every year. So during which we will invite ladies from villages, and they'll be asked to, they'll cook and sell traditional food items, and the profit will be given back to these ladies. So this is basically to make them financially empowered. We had this last time, and I think we were able to secure around 1.5 lakhs profit. This time, unfortunately, we couldn't do it. Let's hope we can do it in the coming years, and I hope we'll all meet again in person. Then Koturpuram teaching project. Again, Koturpuram, I'll tell you, Koturpuram is a colony very near to our campus. So it's kids from the Narikuravar community residing at Koturpuram, which is just 1 kilometer away from our campus. So basically, these kids, they don't have any motivation. Their parents also will not encourage them to study, because they basically earn from selling beads and picking rats. So since they are not much motivated towards education, our volunteers used to go on every Sunday to the colony, and they'll take them classes. It can be maths, English, anything. And basically, you will try to make them as interesting. It will not be a very conventional kind of teaching. I will also try to make them interesting using activities or videos and all. So this is about it. And yes, when you talk about rural development, yes, agriculture is important. And some of our old projects will be like online counseling of farmers. So we have acted as a facilitator between experts and farmers. That was done. Then Krishi Dost is a booklet which is designed for educated individuals who want to go into farming but don't know where to find out the required information. So the Krishi Dost is it's a guideline where we provide information on how to do or how to pursue farming. So we have done an edition, a first edition, and I think it was circulated in the nearby libraries, colleges and all. Now we are working on the second version of it. Agreener is another technical event that was conducted during Shastra, where technical problems related to agriculture were taken, and it will be given to the participants who come up with an innovative solution. Okay. Then Farm Dost is event conducted during Sarang, where participants are required to make a small video that shows the positive sides of farming and motivates others to take up farming as a profession. Okay, so this is all to sum up about IViL. I don't want to, extend it, because I know you might not be interested to hear a long speech. So yes, so these are all about IViL. And now I think you will have a lot of questions. If you have any questions, feel free to share.